Daniel handed me the bill the way you'd hand someone a form to sign. Already filled out, already decided, just waiting on my signature. $15,400. Dorms, laptop, meal plan, line by line. His handwriting neat across the top like he'd rehearsed the neatness. Cover my son's college, he said, not a question. He didn't ask if I could. He didn't ask if I would. He just said it the way you'd announce a weather forecast. Something already true that the rest of us simply hadn't caught up to yet. Not happening, I told him. That was the whole exchange. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain myself, and I think that's what threw him. Not the no, but the absence of an argument attached to it. Daniel is used to negotiating. He wasn't prepared for a door that just closed without creaking first. I should say, I understand where his certainty came from, even if I don't excuse it. 4 years ago, I quietly covered his car repair after he lost the job at the dealership. $1,100? No fanfare, no mention of it since. Before that, a security deposit when his lease fell through. Small things, individually. I never called them precedent. He apparently did. Somewhere along the way, I became, in the family's unspoken accounting, a kind of standing resource. And nobody had bothered to ask whether I'd agreed to be one. I heard the next part secondhand. The way you hear most of the worst parts. Not aimed at you, just left lying around for you to find. I was in the kitchen at Dad's house getting ice. And through the doorway, I heard Daniel's voice, easy, untroubled. Don't worry. After Christmas dinner, he'll pay. Dad's voice, just as easy. That's his role. 3 words. I stood there with the ice tray, half emptied, and what struck me wasn't fury. It was how settled it sounded. How unremarkable. Like Dad was confirming the time of a flight rather than assigning a $15,000 obligation to a son who'd already answered. My no hadn't been rejected. It hadn't even been heard. It had been filed under delay. Something Daniel expected to dissolve once enough turkey and tradition had softened me up. I'll admit there was a pull standing in that kitchen to just let it happen. To pay it, smile through dinner, keep the role I'd apparently been cast in without ever reading for the part. I've done that before. Felt the old wind current start tugging and just gone with it. Because going with it was easier than standing in it. This time I noticed the pull as it was happening, which I think is different from resisting it outright. I just stopped walking toward it. Didn't make a scene of stopping. Just stopped. I called Daniel 2 days before Christmas, not after. I want to be clear about that because I think the version of this story where I let him believe one thing and ambushed him on the holiday would have made me no different from the assumption I was refusing. I told him plainly the answer from the kitchen was the same as the answer at the table. I wasn't paying it. He could ask me for help with something smaller, something we actually discussed, but I wasn't going to be quietly enrolled in a $15,000 role Dean never agreed to play. He didn't believe me. I could hear that in how quickly he got off the phone, like he was already composing the next version of the conversation, the one he'd have after dinner where I'd finally come around. The deposit deadline at his son's school was December 28th. I didn't know that date when I said no. I found out later, the way you find out most consequences, after they've already happened. It had nothing to do with Christmas dinner, nothing to do with me at all, really. It was just a date on a university calendar that didn't care what anyone's father had decided was whose role. Christmas dinner itself was smaller than usual and colder in a way no thermostat could fix. Daniel didn't bring it up at the table. I think some instinct in him still. I expected the after dinner conversation to go the way it always had. It didn't happen because I left before dessert. Told them both I had an early morning, which was true, and also not the real reason. The deadline passed 3 days later. I heard about it from my mother, not from Daniel. He'd missed the deposit window. Was scrambling to get his son into the local community college for spring instead. A fallback that embarrassed him in a way. $15,000 apparently never had. Dad called me once in January and didn't quite ask what I'd done. Just asked carefully if I'd really meant it. I told him I had. He didn't say that's his role again. He didn't say much else either. I don't feel like I won anything. If winning is even the word for declining to be drafted into an obligation I never agreed to. There's relief in it. Real relief. The kind that comes from finally hearing your own no land instead of dissolve. But there's a coldness in the family now too, a recalibration nobody's named out loud. Like that they're all quietly refiling who I am now that I'm no longer filling the role they'd assigned me. I don't know yet if that's a fair trade. I think I'd make it again. I'm just not sure yet what it costs to stop playing a part you spent years being cast in without anyone asking if you wanted it.